It's September 21st, 1953. Kimpo Air Base, South Korea. American servicemen are eating lunch when air raid sirens suddenly start screaming. A Soviet-built MiG-15 fighter jet is diving straight toward the runway at 400 miles per hour. Ground crews scatter. Gunners scramble to their anti-aircraft positions. They think this is it, a communist surprise attack. But then something completely unexpected happens. The MiG doesn't fire, it doesn't drop a bomb, it just lands. The canopy pops open and out climbs a 21-year-old North Korean pilot in full uniform, his hands raised in surrender. His name is No Kum-sok, and he just handed the United States the most valuable gift of the Cold War. He didn't just escape the brutal North Korean regime, he brought the Americans the enemy's most advanced, heavily guarded weapon. But here's the craziest part. No Kum-sok had absolutely no idea the CIA was offering a $100,000 bounty to any pilot who stole one. He just wanted out. And in doing so, he pulled off one of the most audacious defections in history, altered the course of aerial warfare, and erased his own identity forever. To understand why this was such a massive deal, you have to look at the skies over MiG Alley in 1953. The Korean War had been raging for 3 years, and American F-86 Sabres were getting shredded. The Soviet-built MiG-15 was a total phantom. It climbed higher, flew faster, and hit harder than anything the West possessed. American pilots were dying, and U.S. intelligence was absolutely desperate to figure out why. They needed an intact MiG to reverse engineer. Enter the CIA's Operation Moolah. In April 1953, the U.S. dropped millions of leaflets over North Korea and broadcasted radio messages around the clock. The offer? $50,000 to any pilot who defected with a MiG, plus an extra $50,000 to the first one to do it. That's roughly $1 million today. The problem? Almost no one in North Korea saw the offer. Pilots were constantly watched. Reading enemy propaganda meant a firing squad. This is where No Kum-sok comes in. Born into a wealthy family that was targeted when Kim Il-sung's communists took power, No learned early that survival meant blending in. When he was 15, his father vanished, likely executed simply for being a successful businessman. No's mother told him to keep his head down and play the part. So he became the ultimate model communist. He memorized Marxist theory, joined the Youth League, and eventually entered the North Korean Air Force Academy. By 1952, he was flying the MiG-15. He was an ace student, trusted by his commanders. He flew combat missions against the Americans, never shooting anyone down, but never getting shot down himself. He was calculating, and he was waiting for his moment. Escaping wasn't easy. The demilitarized zone was the most heavily guarded strip of land on Earth. Flight fuel was strictly rationed, and wingmen had orders to shoot down anyone who broke formation. By September 1953, the war had technically ended with an armistice, but tensions were still incredibly high. During a routine training flight near the coast, No saw his window. The formation was loose. There was no ground radar tracking them. At 10 a.m., No banks his MiG hard to the left and shoves the throttle to maximum power. The jet screams past 500 miles per hour. He drops to just 50 feet above the ground, skimming the treetops to hide from radar. Behind him, his panicked squadron screams over the radio, demanding he return. No rips out his headset and tosses it. He crosses the DMZ. Anti-aircraft batteries open fire. Tracers streak past his canopy. As he flies so low, he can see the shocked faces of North Korean soldiers on the ground. He makes it to South Korean airspace, but now he has 10 seconds to land before American defenses blow him out of the sky. He drops his landing gear, bleeding off speed, praying they realize he's surrendering. He slams the MiG onto the runway at Kimpo Air Base. screeching to a halt in a cloud of burning rubber. Surrounded by American soldiers with rifles raised, No climbs out and gives them the biggest, most nervous smile of his life. If you're hooked by this insane piece of Cold War history and want to see more incredible deep dives just like it, hit that like button and follow the channel. It takes 2 seconds, and it really helps us bring you more stories like this. Now back to the MiG. Through a translator, No finally learns about Operation Moolah. When they tell him he just won $100,000, his jaw literally drops. He risked everything for freedom, not a payday. But the Americans didn't care about his motives. They had their prize. Within hours, engineers and test pilots were tearing the MiG apart. They discovered its engine was actually a modified British design. They found its blind spots, its awkward gun placement, and its stall characteristics. American pilots flew the captured MiG in mock dogfights against F-86 Sabres, developing exact tactics to exploit the Soviet jet's weaknesses. Almost overnight, the kill ratio in the skies shifted. The MiG-15 was no longer an invincible ghost. It was just a machine. Today, you can still see No's exact jet sitting in the National Museum of the U.S. Air Force in Ohio. The true cost. But No Kumsok's story doesn't end with a clean victory. The U.S. gave him the $100,000 and a new identity, Kenneth Rowe. He went on to earn a master's degree from MIT and spent 30 years as an aeronautical engineering professor in America. But the cost of his freedom was devastating. He could never return home. Because of his defection, his mother was interrogated, her property seized, and she was forced to live the rest of her life under constant surveillance as the mother of a traitor. He never saw her again. When No finally wrote his memoir over 40 years later, he didn't call himself a hero. He said he was just a desperate young man trying to survive. He lived the rest of his life a free, wealthy man in America, but haunted by nightmares of the family he had to leave behind.